Hey friends, welcome back to another video and welcome if you're new here. As you can tell from the title of today's video, I've been in a pretty bad reading slump over the last couple weeks. Normally during the months of January and February in the past few years, January and February have been really productive reading months for me, and I usually tend to get a lot of books read. But this year, for various different reasons, I seem to have fallen into a reading slump and I can't seem to get out of it. I will say though that in January, I read some amazing 5-star reads, some just wonderful cozy books as well. So January wasn't the big problem, it was more the start of February, and I think I must have picked up over 20 different books. But each book that I pick up, I keep putting it back down and I'm unable to immerse myself into each world. There have been several different occasions where I've read about 20% of the books before deciding not to carry on with it and DNFing it. So it's been a bit of a struggle. So the aim of today's video is to really overcome this reading slump and to squash it out, because I'm fed up of picking books up constantly only to just put them back down again. I'm currently in the middle of reading The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. I'm about 30 to 40% through it and I just really want to push through that book. It's difficult to say that I'm enjoying it because I've actually struggled with how upsetting the book is. It's set during World War II and I didn't realise it would be so heavy on the historical fiction element. I thought there would be a bit more fantasy woven in, but it's very magical realism, very light fantasy. And I think when I picked the book up, I just wasn't quite prepared for the heavy content material. That being said though, it's incredibly well written, so I do want to stick through with it and hopefully I'll be able to finish that book today. On top of that, this morning I received a notification on my phone that the spell shop is ready for me to borrow from the library. That is an ebook, so I'm looking forward to picking it up. I've heard wonderful things about it and I'm hoping that since it's a cozy fantasy, it's going to sort of balance between the heavy material of The Warm Hands of Ghosts as well. The sun is shining, so I'm really looking forward to having hopefully a very good reading day so that I can come out of this reading slump. So I really hope you enjoy watching this cozy reading vlog and let's get into the video. Hi friends, it's voiceover Ahya here and I wanted to say a huge thank you for all the love on my previous video. I read through all of your comments and I tried to get back to all of them, but you're all so kind and sweet and your lovely comments really uplifted me and made my day, so thank you so much for taking the time to write them. To be completely honest with you guys, the reason why I didn't share a video last week was because I wasn't really happy with this video and I couldn't get over myself and this standard that I'd set for myself. I don't deal very well with change, and this past year alone I've undergone so many different kinds of changes in both my personal and work life that this recent renovation and move all felt like a bit too much. Not having a set place to film has also been difficult in wanting to film and edit videos, but the place is coming together slowly and it's exciting to work out the different pieces of a puzzle. But before I knew it, a week had already passed without me wanting to edit this video, and I've had this experience in the past as well. In fact, I never ended up sharing my travel and reading vlog to Rome last spring because I didn't like how the footage for it turned out, even though I'd edited a lot of it, and looking back I now regret not posting it. I was just going to give up on this video, and you'll see throughout the video that my mic ended up breaking as well, hence why I'm recording this voiceover via my earphones. But then I remembered how with regards to the Rome video, the things that bothered me at the time just don't really seem like that big of a deal in hindsight, and I didn't want to feel the same way about this particular video as well, so I did end up pushing through, and getting this video out was definitely a labour of love and a lot of trials. But I'm really happy to have committed to finishing it, and I'm also so thankful for your support. It's so exciting to see both familiar faces in the comments as well as new friends joining, and thank you for being patient with me when I'm unable to get videos out each week. I also didn't end up reading the spell shop at all during this period because I did end up getting sidetracked with other ebooks and audiobooks, specifically If You Could See the Sun by Anne Liang, as well as The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, which I'm sure I'll talk about lots in the future because I'm so addicted to reading both right now. I can't wait to get my hands on physical copies of this book because I just want to annotate and highlight it all, but hopefully I'll get another chance to pick up the spell shop very soon. I think I still have a couple of days left on Libby, but I think it'll be a really lovely read for spring, so I might save it to read in a couple of weeks' time as well. Hello friends, it's currently the day after and I finished reading The Warm Hands of Ghosts. I'm filming this at night so the quality isn't the best, which I apologise for, but I had a really good time reading The Warm Hands of Ghosts and I think I ended up giving it, well, I'm not really sure, but I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. I think I found it interesting that at the beginning I really thought this book was going to give me a reading slump for a good 30% of the way through it, because it was requiring so much energy for me to get through it. But towards the 75% mark, I experienced the opposite effect where there was a sudden urgency within me to finish this book, to know what happens to each of the characters. The fantasy within this book is definitely on the lighter end. It's more magical realism than anything else, and it doesn't even come into play for a good chunk of the book. I don't know why I thought that this book was somehow going to be cozy. I think with the magical element in it and the title The Warm Hands of Ghosts, in my mind it was going to be some cozy fantasy, but I was completely mistaken. And no, this book is really hard-hitting. It is not a light-hearted book by any means. By the end of the book I was so attached to these characters and I became convinced that all of them were very real. All of them really did live through World War I and suffered its ramifications. It's interesting because the fiddler in this book I thought was really representative of a character in Mikhail Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita, and towards the end when you read the author's note, Catherine Arden specifically mentions that she was inspired by him, so I was really pleased that I was able to pick up on that note. But the reason why I didn't end up giving it 5 stars was because it felt a bit too heavy on the historical fiction element for me personally, but as you can see I sticky tabbed it. I read most of it during one sitting in the Waterstones cafe that I was at. But after that book I managed to read White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I used the little TBR jar that I created a couple weeks back to pick up my next book after The Warm Hands of Ghosts, because I felt like reading such a good book was going to throw me into another reading slump, so I was desperate to pick up a new one. And so when I picked up White Nights from the jar, I was thrilled because I thought that reading a short classic by an author that I've been really wanting to read from would really help carry that motivation to keep reading more. It's set in Petersburg and you follow a man who over the period of 3 or 4 nights he meets a woman that he falls desperately in love with, and it's really an exploration of unrequited love, loneliness, of fanciful dreams as well. You know, I feel like there was so much in this little book that I really want to revisit it, and having read the short story and finished it really quickly, almost in one sitting, I ended up going back to see the things that I sticky tabbed because there are such memorable quotes in this. It's so beautifully written, and I think I found one of my new favorite quotes actually. I'm trying to find it because I want to read it for you. Oh yeah, here it is. So it says, "Oh, Nastenka, you know, we thank some people for merely living at the same time as we do. I thank you for the fact that I met you, that I will remember you for all my life. It's so true, the fact that being able to just purely live at the same time together is such a wonderful blessing, and it really made me thankful for all the people in my life and all of you guys whom I'm able to share life with. This book has been going around like crazy on BookTok and Bookstagram, so I had really high expectations for it, and it wasn't really what I thought it was going to be. I think I thought it was going to read more like a classical romance, but it's a lot more philosophical, and at times like the dream-like exposition of it at the times made me feel like it was almost a magical realism book. It's the rambling inner thoughts of a man who is a romantic at heart. It's poetic, it's philosophical, it's beautiful, so it's definitely worth checking out, and I had a really lovely time reading it. I definitely feel like I'm coming out of my reading slump. I actually think that I'm out of it now, and maybe that's too soon to say because I'm only 2 books down, but I'm really eager to pick up a new one. So I'm going to take White Nights out of the jar and make sure that it doesn't go back into the TBR jar, and what I think I'm going to do now is pick out 3 different options from my TBR jar and then ask you guys over on Instagram, make a poll for it, and I'll read the one with the most number of votes. Hopefully I don't regret this. Honestly, as a mood reader, it's quite nerve-wracking to have a TBR jar because, like I mentioned, I do like reading based off what I'm in the mood for. Hopefully we get a good one. I'm quite nervous actually. Okay, I think I'm ready for the first book. First up, we have, what's this one? Ooh, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I think it's like magical realism with a bit of horror in it, and I've been reading a lot more horror, so that is going to be one option on the Instagram poll. I think it's quite short, so that might be a good one. Next up, we have, what's this one? Oh, it's long. Yesterday, Crumb and the Storm in a Teacup. This is a fantasy middle grade novel, and actually pulling this one out, I'm quite in the mood to read it. It's been sitting on my physical shelf for ages, and I think it's about time that I pick it up, so I wouldn't mind if you guys voted for this one. It's a fantasy middle grade, and other than the fact that it's got something to do with tea and a girl called Yesterday, I'm really not sure what it's about, but it looked really fun, so that is going to be option number 2. And option number 3, oh, The Letters of Vincent van Gogh. This is one that I technically started a little while ago, but I haven't made much progress with it. I think it's because it's non-fiction and I'm not quite in the mood to pick up a non-fiction right now. I have a hunch that a lot of you are going to vote for this book, and I'm a bit nervous about it because I feel like a non-fiction might throw me back into a reading slump, but this is what the TBR jar picked out, so I'm gonna have to put it on the poll. I'm going to go over on Instagram right now and ask you guys which book I should read next. Hopefully it doesn't hinder my little progress that I've been making getting out of this reading slump, and I'll see you guys with the results of the poll. Hey friends, I'm back, and in the time that I've been gone, my mic actually ended up breaking, so we're gonna have to either send that off for repairs or try and get a new one. So I've resorted to filming the voiceover and everything on my phone right now, so I'm not sure what the quality is going to be like. I'm also in a very odd filming setup right now, but this room is hopefully going to be the new filming / library room, and I'm so blessed and thankful to be able to dedicate an entire room to books. But I shared the poll over on Instagram of the 3 different book options, and of the 3, you guys voted for Yesterday, Crumb and the Storm in a Teacup by Andy Sagar. I was really surprised and excited that so many of you voted for this book, because I was glued to my phone looking at the results, literally changing minute by minute. And at first, I think Letters of Vincent van Gogh, that was winning by miles, but it eventually got overtaken by Yesterday, Crumb. This is a middle grade fantasy, and I've only read about 50 pages of it so far, but I'm really enjoying it. And I feel like I haven't seen anybody on BookTube talking about this book, so I'm glad that I got the chance to pick it up this time. It follows a girl called Yesterday, and Yesterday was born with foxes, and she's forced to work at a circus. But one day, a magical lady called Miss Dumpling and her walking tea shop arrived to whisk her away and introduce her to a whole new magical world. Yesterday then quickly finds out that she's actually a fairy strangeling. So this book is not only filled with tea, but also fae. I'm only on chapter 4, so I don't really know what the rest of the book is going to look like, but so far it's reading really whimsically, it's really fun, and it's really well written as well, so I'm really intrigued to finish it. But that concludes this video, and I really feel like this reading vlog was really successful for me. The first book that we read was The Warm Hands of Ghosts, and that one was quite tough at several different points, so being able to finish that book and having really enjoyed the experience overall, that really elevated my mood in wanting to complete more books. I feel like because it was slightly slower and it took me a little bit longer to finish it, and it being the first book that I stuck through with to the end after a very long series of DNFing books, it felt like a true accomplishment to have read it and to have enjoyed it as well. And then the next book that we read was Fyodor Dostoevsky's White Nights, which is a very short classic, and I really enjoyed that as well. I feel like the Penguin Little Black classics are a great palate cleanser in between reading heavier books. They're short, they're punchy, and they also they hold lots of substance to them as well, so it doesn't feel like you're reading nothing. And then I feel like topping that all off with a middle grade novel, which was a little bit lighter, a bit more fast paced, and fantasy as well, only helped to sustain the momentum. So I guess I've learned that when you're in a bit of a reading slump, switching up the genre and the format and also the age range audience is a great way to diversify the reading experience. I don't know if this is too soon to say, but I feel like I'm coming out of the reading slump, if not out of it. Hopefully throughout the rest of February and into March, we'll keep reading really good books, and that I won't backtrack into another reading slump. You know, reading is my favourite hobby, so it was really sad and difficult to feel like I wasn't enjoying reading. So I'm really relieved to feel like I'm out of this slump now, and I hope this was encouraging if you're also struggling a little bit with reading. I don't know how your reading year has been going so far this year. I hope it's been going well, but I do hope that this video was encouraging if you're also in a little bit of a struggling period like I am. If there was a book that helped you come out of a reading slump before, please let me know in the comments below, because I'd love to squash this reading slump completely. I hope you all really enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye friends!